Alright guys, welcome back to another video of another What If video, and here we're going to talk about what if Mandalore existed, or the Mandalorians in general, existed in Warhammer 40k. So what if we move them out of Star Wars and into the grimdark universe? Now, obviously a couple things are going to have to change for this thing. One major being, they would have to join the Imperium or get fucked. But the problem is, if we're still going by Mandalorians, the Mandalorians don't serve. Their whole thing is that they rule. I would have in this continuity, I guess you could have, is that the Mandalorians were a race of people who did split away from, during the dark times of Earth, and when they were found during the Great Crusade, they refused to bow to the God Emperor, and probably didn't go well. So there's one thing where I would say that their warrior blood and all that, they fought, Space Marines in the Great Crusade and all of that until they were eventually brought to heel after Mandalore got, I don't know, fucked over without any lube. So yeah. So obviously, yes, in this continuity there is no such thing as a free Mandalore. It's not like in, Star Wars where it's like, oh, we can rebuild a new Mandalorian kingdom and what have you. No, you are either... Mandalore does not have that kind of, wouldn't have that same kind of power, even if they did. Even if they could, let's say, fight off the Imperium. Like, if they could somehow defeat the Imperium, there's no way you could, in no possible scenario where they wouldn't be ruled by someone or something else. Or beaten down by someone else. They could easily be they could become part of the Tau. They would be constantly fighting the Orcs. We'll get to them more later. They could easily be at war with Chaos, and again, we'll get to them as well. But there is really nothing that would keep Mandalore, the Mandalorians really don't have that kind of firepower to challenge and make a claim for themselves. They don't have that. It's not like with where I put the Vong or other races from Star Wars in here, or Star Trek, or even Doctor Who, where it's like, yeah, they're just technologically superior. And yes, Mandalore does have a lot of technology that does kind of beat out a lot of the weaponry and armament that, the Imperium has. They don't have the numbers. That's the thing. It's not like with the Vong where it's like, yeah, you could easily see the Vong, carving out a good chunk of things. Or like the Daleks, who would probably just wreck house all across the galaxy, because they are just, once you control time, you have basically won the game. Once you use time as a weapon, and I've done a whole video talking about, like, what if the Daleks invaded the Warhammer 40k universe. Yeah, once you make time your bitch and use it like a nuke, yeah, you've basically beaten everyone you've basically won the game. But it's different for the Mandalorians, where, yes, we'll still give them their weapons, we'll still give them, the plasma-based weaponry and lasers, and their ships would probably be faster, but the Mandalorian fleet and army, yeah, they don't, it's either submit or die. And Mandalorians are, there isn't really a lot of bounty hunting going on in the 40k universe. So yeah, this universe, the Mandalorians would have to submit to the Imperium, or, be part of the Tau Empire. So I think it would be more of, they would probably join the Imperium. And could you imagine, like, Beskar armored Space Marines? Now, it is kind of hard to place, like, which could be stronger, Beskar, or... I would probably lean towards Beskar, because we have seen that armor can hold up against, a lightsaber, whereas we've seen other energy-based weapons cut through Space Marine armor. Which I know it has a name, but I just can't think of it right now. Like, I can't think of the name at the moment. But yeah... So Beskar would be one of the things why the Imperium would want the Mandalorians in their army, not just because of how, sharp of warriors they would be, but also on the grounds of, hey, that Beskar, that's going to be useful to us. That's going to be, lining our ships. That's going to be, arming our Space Marines. It's now you now share it with the rest of the Imperium, or else. But I imagine, though, if Mandalore did join the Imperium, it'd be like, no, only we can use Beskar. And the Imperium's like, no, it's not. So also, this whole "this is the way," yeah, that's going to be "this is the way to the Emperor." Yeah. Now, would it be different if they joined the Tau? Because again, there's really only two factors. You either join the Imperium or you join the Tau. Let's talk about a bit, like, what if the Mandalorians instead joined the Tau? The Tau, I think, would be a little more respectful, but also desire Beskar as much as the Imperium would. Beskar would probably line their mech suits, their weapons, and also give them an edge of, crafting weapons from it. I think they would also treat the Mandalorians almost like the Kroot, where it'd be like, yeah, we don't do, like, the whole infantry and all that, so we're gonna send the Mandalorians as, like, shock troops, much like how they use the Kroot. That's how I kind of view it if they joined the Tau. I also think that the Tau would give them a little more, anonymity, or at the bare minimum, the illusion of it, and let them, worship the Way, but the Way would be kind of altered to the way of the greater good. That's how I see it. So, I don't, like, either way, the Mandalorians are going to be under the boot of either, they're going to be serving the greater good or serving the God Emperor. There's no in-between here. So what would it be like if... Let's talk about the other races. What would the other interactions be? I do think they wouldn't really care much for the Eldar, and I do see that the Drakari would want to, probably want to stick things in the Mandalorians that would be fleshy and lubeless. The Orcs would fucking love... The Orcs would fucking love the Mandalorians. They would be like, "He's a good crump right there. Them Mando boys." Or just call them shiny... They call them shiny heads. That's what them shiny heads. Is a good crumpin' right there. Mandalorians and Orcs would constantly be fighting each other. Like, the Orcs would see the Mandalorian race as, like, the perfect, like, yeah, we go... they like to fight like us. And they like to fight up close and, use weapons like we do, and they find, there's like an honor code with them, whereas us, we just like a good fight. So I think if the, when the Orcs find out there's like a Mandalorian settlement, they'll just be like wogging their way to that Mandalorian settlement, because they know them shiny heads are going to give them a good fight. Now, Necrons, it would be a little... I see just them fighting each other. Now, the big question is, would Mandalorians fall to Chaos? That's a big question. Could Mandalorians fall to Chaos? I think yes. I think Mandalorians would easily fall to Chaos. Not all of them, but I do see that they would probably fall to all the Chaos Gods. I think, although Khorne would probably be the biggest factor that they would fall to, I do think they would, Khorne would be the biggest one the Mandalorians would fall to. But I could easily see them falling to, like, maybe not so much Tzeentch, but definitely I could see a few falling to Slaanesh and Nurgle. They could easily be influenced by... those two as well. Also, could you just imagine a Chaos Mandalorian? Like, could you just imagine that armor? Like, I hope there's like fan art or like a 3D printed figure of that out there somewhere of like Chaos Mandalorian, Chaos Mandos, because that mental image of like a Mandalorian in cornate armor would be fucking great. I just think that's just so fucking perfect. That would be so fucking perfect to see. I do see that, like, I do think that it wouldn't go well for them. They wouldn't, at least in the Star Wars, universe, they could be spread out and have their own religious views and whatnot. Here, the Mandalorians, oh, excuse me, the Mandalorians would be, more tighter knit. And through that, I think, like, their views of brotherhood and views of, being for one another would be more closely knit. Like, there would be one good thing that would come out of having the Mandalorians in the 40K universe is that in the 40K universe, the Mandalorians would be a more tighter knit group. Like, they would, whether that be serving the Way as a one united force, or, not having it, that's a different story. But I do think, like, there wouldn't be, like, much squabbling among all the other, like, clan. There wouldn't be a lot of clan infighting, unless some of them fell to Khorne, or, they wanted to, like, find aid in the Imperium. I do see that maybe Mandalorians could go like the I could see the like I do now that I think about it, I do think Mandalorians could easily, some Mandalorians could like be mercenaries for anyone. Like they could be a mercenary force and almost be like the ogres in Warhammer Fantasy. That could easily be a thing. But here's the thing: there is no such thing as freedom. So you got to pick someone to run alongside, or you're extinct. But anyway, you guys tell me in the comments below, what do you think it would be like if the Mandalorians existed in Warhammer 40k? Just comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope y'all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time, the Multiverse.